Today is Whit Friday, but the associated celebrations will not take place this year. British Bandsman and BrassPass.tv have produced this short film showing the annual morning events in Delph near Oldham, Manchester. Similar processions would normally occur throughout the area on Wit Friday. We dedicate this film to all the villages in Saddleworth and Tameside who work tirelessly to help people celebrate this important date in the Christian calendar. Bandspeople love the excitement of the traditional Whit Friday quick step contests, which have been held for 150 years in the northwest Pennine villages of Saddleworth and Tameside. In normal times, these traditions continue in the villages that straddle the Pennines between Manchester and Huddersfield. British Bandsman is always at the heart of the action, with articles and photographs telling the stories of this important part of the Whitsun tradition, especially Whit Friday. However, this year none of the events will take place, and villages like Delph will remain quiet, as they have done since the lockdown began in March this year. In 2018, our colleagues at BrassPass TV made a short documentary about the morning walks. Using that material, we bring you an extended look at how the day begins in the local villages by shining a spotlight on how the village of Delph celebrates Whit Friday. It's 9 AM. And as the clock chimes out across the village, the combined bands of Delph prepare to start the day with a traditional rendition of the hymn Hail Smiling Morn. The band announces the start of Whit Friday by marching down the high street of Delph to meet the numerous churches, who will then walk around the parish, allowing all the parishioners to witness the church's announcement of the Whitsun period. The weather is not always kind to the walkers nor the bands, and on this particular Whit Friday in 2018 there was a deluge. Still, the parade went on. Whitsun walks form a tradition that stretches back to the 18th century. The Christian festival, as spring changed to summer, coincided with the traditional Wakes Weeks, where the factories and mines of the northern towns would close down for maintenance and annual holidays. Whit Sunday until Trinity Sunday the following week would see a full week of walks and celebrations. For the bands of Lancashire and Yorkshire, this period used to be as busy as the Christmas period. In 1985, a local television crew in Manchester captured Eccles Borough Band as it led the parade in the mill town of Swinton near Manchester. This parade only stopped in 2004. While the tradition has died away in some parts of the north, Saddleworth and Tameside retain the parades, where the bands accompany the churches, schools and other groups like the Scouts and Guides. Local and guest bands from outside the area, including some from overseas, take part in this very traditional Christian celebration. In 2017, John Sentamu, the Archbishop of York, joined the parade from Dobcross to Upper Mill before leading the massed church service in Upper Mill Park. Part of his sermon involved the release of a large number of coloured balloons. To the villages, the whole day is important, and for business, it can be a very busy day indeed. Martin Gernon and Jess Martin caught up with the staff of the Delph Chippy, who were expecting the usual busy day.
Outside this chippy. Now, Nikki, you've just been telling you've been here for 22 years?
Well, I've worked here since I was 14 and I'm nearly 40, but I've worked Wit Friday for 22 years.
And Jay, this is your first one
It
today.
is, yeah.
Do you know what you're letting yourself in for?
Not really, no,
Okay.
but let's have it.
She's going to tell us. She'll
This
soon
is your
fit in.
busiest day of the year, isn't it?
It is our busiest day of the year. We're expecting lots of people down to enjoy the fish and chips.
Fantastic.
And it will be busy, hopefully, with this weather, but we'll still hopefully be busy.
Fish all the way from Scotland.
From Scotland?
Yeah.
With English fish?
Nice
'Cause this
fresh
is
fish. It's the
Okay.
freshest and the
Perfect.
best.
Now, on a normal Friday, how many fish and chips will you serve over here?
Maybe 60, 70.
And today,
Oh, we've ordered about 500, 600 fish today.
500 to 600 fish. That must be about 3 tons of chips.
Yep.
Wow, who's peeling all those?
Not me.
We've got a potato peeler by a machine, not by hand.
He must be tidy.
I've got a quick, really, really important question. What's the chance of me getting free chippy today?
Yeah, come on in, we'll give you some chips.
Definitely.
She's so cheeky, isn't she?
Hey, if you don't.
In Delph, getting this huge parade around the village and negotiating its narrow streets is a monumental task. As is tradition, most churches display their beautiful ornate banners. Only the strongest church members are chosen to carry the huge banners, and high winds can ensure this needs to be a highly skilled task, as is avoiding trees, overhead wires and low bridges. In Delph, the streets are narrow and steep. The parade does stop at designated places, but this isn't so the band can rest, but for prayer and, of course, a hymn.
Wave. Shake, shake, shake.
Delph Band is led by Philip Goodwin, who is also a long-time bass player with Black Dyke Band. Jess and Martin caught up with him to discuss his long association with the village band.
Here now with the very lovely Phil Goodwin, who has been conducting this morning the Delph Band. Apart from it being very wet, how was it for you?
Oh, it's fantastic. I mean, this is a huge tradition here in Delph and all the Saddleworth villages, of course. But no, I love it. And to see everyone out from our very, very youngest players at the Delph tutors, including the training band, the youth band, and of course the senior band. And to see them all coming around, it's just fantastic.
Yeah, I think what struck me was the fact that the little ones, despite, I mean, you can't really tell now, it was absolutely piling it down at one point. The music was falling apart. Yeah. The little ones seemed to really, really love it as well. Do you have quite a big ethos in including the little ones in the band?
Absolutely, and that's always been the future. And within the senior band now, with players who've come through the youth band, and we have players in the senior band who help out with the youth band and with the absolute beginner group. And so, yeah, that's the only way we keep it going.
How many years have you now been involved in Delph Band?
38.
38. Oh, look at this, he's still got black hair. What's your secret, Phil, apart from colouring it?
Yeah. I always get asked that, and I promise you it doesn't. It's really weird. I came to Delph to do one event, and that was the National Championships in 1980.
That's 38 years ago.
Yeah, and they won. And so I was under a bit of pressure to actually stay. And so that was, I fell in love with the village. I was already conducting another band down in Manchester, but eventually I just felt that I was under a bit of pressure to come and stay, but I did enjoy it, and I've continued to enjoy it. And I think the really nice thing about it is that we've always tried to keep it as a village band.
Yes. Yeah.
And that means sometimes, there's been times when maybe we have been down to about 15 or 16 players. But certainly over the years we've been very, very stable. And I think that's because we do try to look after players. We don't want to just bring players in for contests and so on. We actually go with the band that we have.
Exactly.
And, I think it rounded off quite nicely, in 2010 we went to the finals again and won. And this could be a good question for someone out there. I don't know if there's any other band out there that's won 2 national championships 30 years apart with the same conductor and most of the same players.
Well, that's the first quiz question for today, folks. So posed by Phil Goodwin, there is a bottle of champagne very kindly donated by Phil for anybody with the correct answer. Well done, mate. I must say, only the spirit of Delph Band, whenever I go into the band room, there is such a good spirit there. Always, whether it's the youngsters, whether it's the senior band, and that's something that obviously is important to you guys. Absolutely, and it's something we've as I say, we've developed over the years. It's something we want. I know that when I first came here, in many ways, the band was a little insular, and so they weren't always. I felt. I came to do a job, and it didn't strike me at that time. But certainly, my wife is sort of saying, "Oh, I don't know quite how friendly they are," but of course now she's been here all that time as well. They're very friendly.
Yeah. But they are, and I think that we always have an open door policy, and anyone's around who wants to play, then they're more than welcome. And that's the same this morning. We've had guests from all over the country,
which is wonderful. It was great to see Gilbert out this morning as well.
Can't keep him away.
You can't, can you? Unfortunately, 71. He was telling me.
It's a lie.
Oh, it's incredible.
He's much older.
Really? Wait till I see him. That's perfect. Well, Phil, we'll let you go and get dried off. Good luck for the rest of the afternoon and the evening, and I'm sure we'll see you down here a little bit later. And thank you on behalf of Delph for everything you're doing.
Thank you, and you have a good day too.
Thanks a lot, Phil.
Cheers.
The Wit Friday March contests will be greatly missed in 2020, but the villages and the congregations will also be mourning the loss of this very traditional reason the contests came into being in the first place. Perhaps this is a time to reflect on the devastation that has caused this and so many other events to be cancelled in 2020. To the sound of Delph Band performing Colours of the Day, here's hoping that all these wonderful traditions can return next year.
See ya.